all you beautiful people out there, what is going on? This is your friend Brady, coming at you fast for another Paragon Beast Builds video, and today we are going to be looking at Crunch. Little Crunch, Captain Crunch, Crunch Time, Crunchy Balboa, Crunch Tyson, whatever you want to call him. We're going to be looking at Agora's first boxer and worldwide champion of the world, universe, millennia, galaxy thing, because he is fucking amazing. He's really basic, but at the same time has a very interesting combo system that if you do become good with him, you can definitely tell the noobs apart from the pros. So let's go ahead and look at a deck that I had for him, and I still do, and it's still very nice, and it helps me win lots of games. And I've used this deck against good people, against not so good people, and it's worked great all the same. So it took a little bit of tweaking, but at the end, I got this. So let's go ahead and look into it. Now, we are going to build him with damage and attack speed early on. Then we're going to move over to health and armor like we typically do. And we're going to build him most similarly to Feng Mao because, in my opinion, he is really good at dealing a lot of burst damage with his combos. Like, he is a really high DPS hero. So we're going to take advantage of that and build him with some good DPS, but at the same time, if you stay long in the fights, you can use his cooldown abilities to whip out a lot of combos too. So, we have the Warlord as our prime card because we're going to have a lot of defense as it is in this deck, and we want to maximize his DPS, so we're going to get this as his prime card. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I remember I was in the middle of a team fight while my team got the prime buff, and I just started absolutely obliterating everybody in the team fight. It was crazy. Like, I was tanky, and I was just, like, four-shotting the enemy Murdoch at that point. It was just ridiculous. But, anyway. Next, we have two different situations for him, because he can either be a jungler or a solo laner. So, if he's a jungler, I like to start off with 2 strike tokens and a health pot, and then for my first item, I like to get the key, and then just throw it away after I get my first harvesters that I need. If I'm laning, then I'll start with a health pot, strike token, and a harvester key so I can get that side harvester right away at 3 minutes. A lot of people actually really underestimate this. It helps you get to level 5 much quicker. So like you know you're done with your wave, you go and you back with, you know, the harvester key, standing on top of that harvester platform. If you're smart, if you're not ganked while you're doing it, it can just give you literally half a level at that early game. It's really, really good. It's really important. A lot of people overlook it. And then throw it away and then replace it with the second strike token anyway. So, yeah. So let's go over the cards that we're going to build. So we're going to start off with a good old Guardian's Ward, no matter what. This is going to be the first card we actually build, aka actually put upgrades into. So we're going to have this Guardian Ward with 2 minor strikes, 1 lesser health. Okay, we're going to balance it out a little bit. We want to give him a little bit of health in the beginning. We also want to make sure that he has a little bit of damage in the beginning. And then we're going to go on into Fountain Spike. The same process here, 2 minor strikes, so this time we have a basic mana instead of a lesser health, because Crunch's abilities do use a little bit of mana, and when you're in the middle of a team fight and you have that cooldown going, you're using your abilities quite often actually, especially when all of them are fully upgraded and their cooldown timers are really short, because of the ult's cooldown timer being, you know, you shave off like 0.9 seconds every time you punch them, or 1 second even, I don't remember, but it's really, really good. And with attack speed, as we're going to build later on, you're going to see in-game with my guide as well how quickly your abilities actually recharge. So you're going to use a lot of mana, so you want to have at least a little bit of mana when it comes to Fountain Spike, so that's why I like to have 150 points of total mana early game. Now we're going to go into our next early game card. This is going to be Amulet of the Veteran with 3 lesser health. This is going to be our early game health so that we're a little tanky. Now I would technically normally do the Tempered Plate and the Tuned Barrier. That would be the better tanky alternative, but we are going with a little bit more damage early game because of that DPS, you know, because we're going to be taking advantage of his high amounts of damage, especially early game with his left crunch, right crunch combos. It just does a gnarly amount of damage, ridiculous amount of damage. So, that's why we're going to be having Amulet of the Veteran. Excuse me. I'm still sick. And, yeah, it has that little bit of passive damage early game too. So, the next card that we're going to build after this depends on your situation. If you're absolutely steamrolling them, if you're not dying at all, then go with this Windcarver Blade. That's going to give you 2 points of Kinetic, and it's going to give you 2 points of Strike. This is good. This is good because you want a little bit of attack speed. You don't need too much. Honestly, you don't need too much. And this is plenty. This is plenty. For early game and late game, this is plenty attack speed, I found, especially because you need to make room for everything else in this deck. Now, the reason I say depends is if you are having a tough time, if you're dying a lot, then I would slot into Blink Charm next. Now, Blink Charm is actually a really good thing on this guy, because at first I thought that his dash would be good for getaways, but it's actually really slow, and it's really easy to catch still inside the range of a lot of ultimates. So, like, for example, you can't even run away from Iggy while he's using his ultimate unless you use the dash and then recrunch to use the dash again. And one, that's kind of slow, and two, you know, it won't get you away from like a steel ult in time, or a Grux pull even. You know, I was out of the radius so many times with those Grux pulls, I swear to God. But that's just because Grux is broken, I think. Just a little bit. They just need to patch that radius. Like, they need a, you know, if you're outside the radius, you should be outside the radius. But I think at that point, it's just a matter of lag. So, anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Blink Charm, giving him more mobility. This has saved my ass so many times as him, because he is an initiator. He is really, you want to use that dash as part of his combo. You know, you want to be able to use that dash to build up your combo so that you can, you know, do an uppercut at the end, or do a 100% cleave damage at the end with your abilities. So Blink Charm is actually really useful on him, and I would really strongly advise using it. You'll see why. You know, in higher level gameplay, everybody and their mother runs Blink Charm on almost any hero, even on Grux's, which I feel like you don't even need a Blink Charm on Grux, but yeah, they run Blink Charms on Grux too. So, what you gonna do about it? But Blink Charm works actually really well. It's just as good as running Blink Charm on Chimera. Like, people are like, oh my god, I die as Chimera. Put Blink Charm on, see what happens. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, we don't really have too many mid-game items. Those are pretty much technically our mid-game items, this Windcarver Blade and this Blink Charm, because we're going to keep them with us now for the rest of the game. And we're going to start substituting these early game items for late game versions of themselves, pretty much. So we're going to substitute. Well, actually, we have one more spot open at this point, I'm pretty sure, because we have the ward, the spike, the amulet. Yeah, we have one more slot open, actually. So with this one slot that we have open, we can actually go ahead and what I usually do, because now this switching process is kind of like, you know, situational, depending, you know, if they're doing a lot of physical damage, build your tempered plate next. If they're doing a lot of energy damage, build your Satori Cloak next. But usually, I just go for best of both worlds and just build an Amulet the Veteran with 3 greater healths as my 6th card. Usually, I can at this point, because Blink Charm kind of keeps you alive. Okay, it's more about dodging than it is absorbing the damage early on. So with Blink Charm, you can dodge a lot of ults. You can dodge Steel's ult. You can dodge Grux's pull. You can dodge I don't freaking know, howitzers, you know, if you're in the middle of it. So it's really helpful. So you don't really need too much resistance if you're good with Blink Charm. At least that's the way I play it. So I like to build this as 6th. And now you're going to start substituting stuff in. So the first thing that you're going to substitute in, again, it all depends. But for the point of this video, we're just going to go ahead and say that, hey, you know, we're doing pretty good right now, but we want a little bit more damage. We want a little bit more damage. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to substitute my Guardian's Ward in for a Brawler's Ward. That's right. We're actually switching out our wards and our Fountain Spike this time around. For those of you who have been watching my decks for a while, you know that I never switch out my ward. Never. But we're actually going to switch it out, because we're going to be getting rid of that Fountain Spike. We're going to be getting rid of that 150 mana. But you don't really need that much mana later on in the game, surprisingly. It's kind of strange. Like, I don't know how this works, but I noticed that I actually had no trouble later game in mana. That's just because as you level up, you get more mana, and you get more health, you know, passively every time you level. So maybe that's why I was, but I noticed that 75 mana is good enough from this Brawler's Ward passive. So that's why we're going to stack it with 3 major strikes. And we're going to deal a lot of damage now, especially with that fully upgrade bonus. So we're going to remove our Guardian's Ward, replace it with this Brawler's Ward. Then, like I said earlier, we're going to get rid of this Fountain Spike, because now we have a shit ton of damage from this Brawler's Ward. We're going to get rid of that Fountain Spike and go into either Satori Cloak or Tempered Plate. Usually, if I can't decide, I like to go with Satori Cloak, just because it has that Pen Shred passive. It has that unique passive, which is really good. You know, you want Pen at this late stage in the game too, you know, so you can do more damage with your abilities. And I mean, you should be intertwining at least one auto attack in between your abilities in general. So you shouldn't have any worries about being able to shred the armor for 4 seconds, like it says right there. So We have that, and then that leaves us with our last card, Tempered Plate, which we need to put in. So we're going to substitute that earlier Amulet of the Veteran that we had, that we slotted in third. And now we're going to get rid of that, put in Tempered Plate with 3 Greater Guards as well. And this is going to give you a lot of armor. This is going to give you over 3,000 points of health total once you're done with all of this. I think I was at about 3,300-ish points, somewhere around there. So that's a good amount of health. You have a lot of armor, because you have graders all over the place. You have blink. So your survivability is pretty much as high as it's going to get. It's as high as it's going to get, unless you're Sevarog. Sevarog's just amazing. He's already dead, so, I mean, he's kind of the king of survivability, I think. In a weird paradoxical kind of way, because he's dead, you can't really kill him. And, okay, never mind. But, yeah, that's actually the final build. So if you got lost, let's recap all the cards that you're supposed to have at the end. Blink Charm, Amulet of the Veteran, Brawler's Ward, Tempered Plate, Windcarver Blade, and Satori Cloak. If you still don't believe me, let's do the math. Let's start with the easy 12-pointers. So we got 12 points here in Satori Cloak, 24 with the Tempered Plate, 36 with the Brawler's Ward, 48 with the Amulet of the Veteran. That leaves us with 12 points and 2 more cards left. We're going to have this Windcarver Blade for 7 points. That leaves us with 5 points left and 1 more card, Blink Charm, which is 5 points. If I had any discrepancies in the math, you can go ahead, rewind this video, do it over and over and over again. I have people, telling me like, your Murdoch build doesn't stack up to 60 CP when I've literally been using my Murdoch build since the video and I've been getting to 60 CP each time. So it just, if you're getting confused, I understand it's hard to track the cards sometimes. That's why I also put them in the description for you guys. And also, check out my guide when it comes out shortly. I'm going to put it in the description as well. The link to that guide as that, that's what I mean. I'm not going to put the entire video in the... You know what I meant, okay? You know what I meant. Anyway, if you want to see how to do combos, how to play them, everything, you guys already know I got you with that, guys. I got you with the shit you want to see. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. It has been a little longer. I'm just been stumbling all over my words, man. I don't know what's going on, man. My life is falling apart. But Crunch is bringing it back together. Am I right, guys, or am I right? Okay, well, anyway, I'm going to go kill myself now. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. And as always, make sure you all have a wonderful day. Peace.